questions?
At this point, we're going to actually ask for some questions.
We actually have our first question coming via Twitter from Twist Christ. She is asking, how did you guys come up with the incredibly creative idea of the Nevermore house?
I can talk to that a little bit. We actually started working on Nevermore 3 years ago. I remember when David Hughes and Mike Aiello when we start, we'll try and put together 12 houses, 11 or 12 houses, and then whittle them down to 8. At that point, Nevermore was, the Poe house, was one of the 12, and that was one of the ones that we kicked out that year. And we just didn't think we had enough content. We didn't think we could do it justice. We resurrected it in November, and we said, I think we could do it now, and I think we really nailed it. We hit it out of the park. You're going to see some pretty, I mean, if you're a Poe fan, I went to school in Baltimore. I had the giant thick book of Poe, and I read all of his stories, and when you go through this house, watch for the little hidden Poes everywhere. There's something in almost every room that ties to his stories and his poems.
Any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Normally you guys only have about 6 scare zones outside.
Yep.
Why is that's not more immersive? Oh, I'm sorry. Why is it not more immersive in that you have, you know, every zone and maybe 1 or 2 rest zones somewhere? Why has that always been in the years?
Well, most of it's a balancing act, I'll be honest with you. We designed the houses, and actually Kim and some of the designers that aren't here, like David Hughes and some of the show directing team, deal with the content. There's a large portion of us, like myself, who deals with the master plan. Basically, how do you lay out the park that gives you flow, gives you capacity, gives you the opportunity to take a break, go get something to drink, get something to eat. What we found throughout the park, there's areas that work really, really well for scare zones, and there's areas that do not work well for scare zones. That's why what you've also come to realize is that some of the scare zones get placed back in the same spot. And that's because they work really well. We don't have what we call distractions. When you walk a scare zone, if you have a food venue, if you have an open area that basically you see light from a different area of the park, that will destroy the scare zone. It really gets rid of a lot of what we really come to try to work upon within the streets, is basically confinement. Put you in a place that you can now take a wonderful experience and a fantasy trip to some other world. So yes, we would love to do that, but we found out as parts of the park don't allow us to do that.
I would love to do it too, because I like to get the bejesus scared out.
Well, good. We keep trying. So every year, the wonderful thing that we love about this event, that we're able to give back to you guys every year, and this is part of it, is to have these question and answers, to hear these things. So when we sit down to the design, we can tweak as much as possible to try to get you guys what it is you want.
I don't think you realize, or maybe you do, how much of an influence you have in tweets and in Facebook postings and in the various fan sites. You know, we're conscious of your interests and desires, and we address them as best we can.
Do you guys watch the YouTube videos too?
Yeah.
We watch everything. There's one question I always get asked when I do these things. What's usually that question?
How to get your job?
Well, no, there's another one.
Sorry, had to throw it out there.
It's the one I always get.
Well, anybody? And to that point, we listen to what you have to say?
Yeah.
All new this year. If you guys don't know this inside joke, every year we get asked, why don't you guys do hoodies? We heard you. Okay, it took us a little longer, but reality is this year will be a product that will be sold to our merchandise outlets. They're simple, they're classic, they basically have the 21 logo on it, but I think this is going to be quick sellers, so get them fast.
Another merchandising thing, are you going to be doing any playing cards since it's Lady Luck?
Actually, we are. We actually have a playing card set will be out this year, and we also have baseball caps as part of this.
Has Lady Luck been something that's been kind of lurking in the back, or was the 21, was that kind of the inspiration for her, or was she an idea that's been around for a while?
She's been with us since time began. And her time has come, and next year is her year. So
yes to both those questions too. Most of, as you guys have come in contact with us and utilize, is that we use concepts that have been around for a while. Sometimes we'll morph them, we'll change them, we'll make them a little bit more relevant for that year. Definitely hitting the 21st year, the focus was all about chance and choice. Put basically the responsibility back on your end. You make the choices. Everybody has a choice. But do you know that the choices you make could actually be inevitably your downfall? That's what Lady Luck brings to you this year, and we're excited about that.
We have another question from Twitter. Olivia for Reels is asking, which house is the scariest house in your points of view?
Scariest house?
Yes.
I tell you, it's hard to know. There are 8 of the most amazing, different experiences. I wouldn't be able to say. So I'm going to defer.
It's funny because I'm hearing this all say the same thing. Oh, the best houses ever, the best houses ever, and that sounds like corporate speak. But honest to God, these are such good houses this year. I've never seen anything like this. I think it's going to be, you guys are going to be blown away. I had Nightingales. I think is going to be a great house. The World War I trench house, I think, is everything about it. You know what? There's so many. Every other night we do a rehearsal out there, and we go through, with everything fired up. And every time I think I saw the best house, I go to the next one, and it's better.
And the experiences are designed to be different and offer versatility. So, you're walking through HR Blood and Guts, and you're laughing at this ridiculous scene when all of a sudden a creature appears out of nowhere, and you're startled, and you're laughing again. So.
Yeah, HR Blood and Guts. I mean, we've got the Feaster Bunny and Thanksgiving and Ho Ho Homicide. So that's funny, and it's scary funny. And then you go to the Hawthorne Cemetery, and it's quiet, and it's snowing, and it's cold, and the snow's coming down, and you're in a cemetery. This big, beautiful, giant gateway into the cemetery. So it's a different kind of scare. And then you go into a battle where there's explosions happening, and lights are going out, and strobes are happening, and you hear gunfire, and these things are jumping out at you. So it's very, and then Poe is just kind of out there, So every one is a little different.
Yeah, and then you're going to go through the in-between, and you're going to come out and say, I don't think I believe what I just saw.
I got to get back in line.
Absolutely. People are going to go back in line.
Other questions? Yep.
Why did you decide to not have an icon house this year?
Why do we not decide to have an icon house? That kind of goes back a little bit to the scare zone question a little bit. Every year when we sit down, we look at basically the roster of what we want to put in haunted houses, what we want to put in scare zones. Icon houses, we've done them in the past. If there's a great story, Lady Luck's story really is your guys' story. It's not really hers. She really, basically, as you can see, we've told her story through the eyes of 8 different individuals, which are haunted houses. So for us, it works better as a scare zone, where you come in contact with the character and the environment, less about her story. Now, somebody like Caretaker, he has a big story. You want to give him the ability to tell that story in a haunted house. So it kind of works in that way. So it's not like we chose anything lower or higher. It just fits the environment and the story we want to tell. Make sense?
Also, we change it up. We need to get you back here next year. So if we're too predictable, why bother to come?
Over here.
I have 2 for you.
2.
I know a lot of time your planning is 2 to 3 years out. Oh, right, thank you, sir. Saws and Steam, though, was that because last year it was so successful and you decided to make it a house, or was it pre-planned?
I actually, this is the first year in about 8 years that I'm on houses. And in the past 7 or 8 years I've done streets. And Saws and Steam in streets last year was mine. I designed the steampunk machine that was in the street. And Mike Aiello, senior show writer, said, I want to take that and I want to expand upon that story. And I want to tell that story more, and I want to put it in a house. And so we put it over in the Jaws queue line because it just fit. It really fits in that space really well. And steampunk is hot now. It's a cool look. I love that look. So we decided, let's take a street, which we've never done before, and turn it into a house.
Gotcha. And my second question, I don't know if you can truly answer it, but it seems like a competitor has a lot of houses very similar to ours this year. And any idea how that might have came about, or?
Well,
Great minds think alike.
I'll speak to that a little bit. I have to say honestly, the thing that makes our event and their event also, I think, very, very well, is that we try to stay as topical and as current as possible. It's amazing that none of us have done some of these houses together before in the past. As many houses they do and we do. But I think it's just, again, strange luck with the year of Lady Luck. But I think, you know, the thing that's wonderful, like anything within the haunt industry, is that everybody takes a different angle and perspective of how they present their content. I think our content, if you've seen a little bit, is presented a certain way. We're going after a lot of story and detail. We take you into the mind of Poe. Not only do you go into his works, but you actually go into the twisted mind of this tormented writer, and you come in contact with him within the house too. So it really is a different twist. We wanted to kind of take you back into places where we've taken you in the world of Norman Bates before. We took you in his psychotic mind. So the story that we told we think is unique, even though it is a historical figure and people know a lot about him. I think what you get to see here is going to be something you don't see someplace else.
Thank you.
Nope, over here.
What scares you when you were a child? What was the movies that made you insane scary that you couldn't take anymore, just out of curiosity?
Well,
Now we're going to go back into the Dark Ages.
I'm in the dark ages like you, so.
I remember as a kid living in Belmore, Long Island, going downtown to the 10-cent matinee and sitting in the front row watching House on Haunted Hill with my hands over my eyes every Saturday for like 5 weeks. So, you know, it's the startle, it's the fun. I mean, I think we've all been fans. We read the monster magazines and built the monsters. And watching Zachary on WPIX in New York trotting out, you know, the old black and white movies, much like H.R. Blood and Guts. I think that's my answer.
Yeah, I'm kind of same. I grew up on the classic monsters and enjoyed watching those wonderful monsters come to life. And I get tickled every year, like Kim talks about, is that building this event from the ground up and taking pieces and parts is almost like us becoming the Frankenstein, the Doctor, creating our own monster. So it is quite fun to kind of look back now and see the stuff that scared me when I was younger, and what also excited me and got me really involved in this type of theming and design work. Now having the opportunity to do it at this scale is a lot of fun.
Growing up in Plains, Pennsylvania, every Saturday there was a double matinee, double feature, really bad horror movies, and my mom or my cousin's mom, my aunt, would take me and my brother and the two of them and drop us off and give us $2, and $2 got you in, got you a Coke and a hot dog and popcorn, and we'd sit there for like 4 hours watching 2 movies, and then they'd pick us up again. And that was, then we would go home, and it was in Pennsylvania, so we had a basement, unlike down here. And we built a spook house. We charged a nickel a piece to the kids in the town to come into our spook house.
I think we all built haunted houses. I remember my first budget was $85, and when I was all said and done, I built it into the garage. But when I got to the end of my $85, it was just not enough. Now we have millions of dollars, and it's just not enough.
Somebody else have a question out there?
I actually have 2. One, when you did like the World War scare zone, is that where you got the idea for the Nightingale house for this year?
Yeah, actually that house was designed by the character first. And from that, it expanded upon where do we feel it fits an environment that these characters would actually come to, basically to be. So we've placed it on World War I.
Okay, and 2, is there a reason why we can't do the Marvel or Harry Potter areas for like scare zones and houses? Because I personally would like to see carnage, and because with the Dementors and everything, it just sort of fits with the Halloween mood.
Well, we've actually done Marvel before in the past. We haven't done Harry Potter because we haven't moved the event back over there just yet. The question does get asked every year, are we going to go back to Islands, or are we going to be able to do something with Potter? Well, every year we look at what is the best environment for our characters. This year we stayed at Universal Studios for the 21st year. Next year, we don't know. Like I said, every year is always a great toss-up, and that becomes a big question for us that we know you guys look for every year, where we're going to be. So you never know. If we head back that way, we might be in those worlds. We might be able to create characters and environments that you've never seen associated with those different lands.
Could you perhaps like do to both parks at one time? That way you can get people spread out everywhere, so that way you can help not only clear up with the crowds and everything, but perhaps they can like provide more money for you.
Everybody take that? Is that tweeted somewhere? No, except my favorite year was 2004, which was the two-park year. I think we definitely have done it. Will we do it again? Probably. When? I don't know. I think it all really depends on the level of excitement, the level of interest that you guys bring us, because that really what expands the park, expands the event. You know, for you guys who've been coming since the early days, you've seen it grow, you've seen it kind of change. Yes, like down here.
Does the economy work with that answer too?
Everything works with that answer, surprisingly. You know, on one side, it definitely is all about theatrics and about entertainment. That's what we represent, that's what we actually are responsible for. But at the same time, it's a business too. Then we're looking to figure out how we can provide you the best product at a cost that really is reasonable. But if you keep coming back more, you know, the more opportunity for us to grow the event really becomes easier on our end. So that's something that definitely keeps expanding, and you can see, you know, over 21 years ago, we started with one house, 3 nights. Now we're at 20-some nights this year, 8 houses, 6 scare zones, 2 shows. One in the back, in the back.
There was a house last year, Psycho Scarabee, where it had this big red button and you push it and something scary happened. I don't know, I don't remember, but like as far as interacting with the people in the houses and scare zones go, do you have any plans for the future in that?
Yeah, we have, I know the button you're talking about, and that was something that David put in last year, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We have other things we've done this year, and you'll have to wait and see what those things are. I'm not going to give it away, because then you'll know what it is. But yeah, we're always looking for, one of the houses, the in-between, the 3D house, David Hughes literally came up with one of the rooms in there because he had one of these little lasers that shoots all laser lights up, and he had it out in his backyard shooting it into the trees. And he went, that's pretty cool the way that's hitting the trees like that. Now this was a little cheap one, so we went back to our lighting group and we said, hey, here's something, we showed him what it was, and we said, could you do this? And of course they bought a much better laser, or had much better lasers. And the way we put it into one of the rooms, it blows your mind, because we're using 2 different colors, a green and a red color, with the chromatic glasses. It's crazy. So yeah, we're always looking at what new thing we can do.
Something funny that stuck out to me in one of the surveys was rating the different scare zones between 1 and 5, and one of the ratings was the bathrooms. Are you planning on doing anything with that ever? Or was that just like a random, hey, do you want the scary bathroom?
I think it was scary bathroom. I think it was, are you paying attention? Yeah, no, we try as best as possible to kind of get as much immediate feedback through surveys. I know that we actually have a lot of online surveys that we ask you guys to do. This type of experience is hugely valuable for us as designers and creators to figure out what it is you guys like, what it is you'd like to see us do better, what do you like to see us change. So those are the things that definitely, anytime you get a chance to do it, hopefully the bathrooms aren't that scary around here. But please let us know. It's a big part of what it is that we do every year.
I remember when we were designing for Islands of Adventure, and we had all of these amazing things going on in each of the islands, except Seuss. Seuss we were going to leave alone. So what we did is we flooded it with fog, turned the lights out, and had dogs barking on the sight sound. And it rated higher than some of the other ones.
You never know.
People are afraid of not knowing. Yep.
You mentioned, Micron, you mentioned Saws and Steam going into the Jaws area, notoriously the hottest house of the bunch. I can't imagine that's a coincidence. And it's, summer, basically, essentially, all the way through the rest of the year. So are we actually going to experience not only heat there, but cold in like the Forsaken and maybe the Thing?
Yes. And last night we were in Saws and Steam, and with smoke shooting out of pipes leading into the factory of the horizon of Saws and Steam, it looks like a big factory with...
Well, part of Lady Luck actually has this wonderful story that we're waiting to tell you. Like anything, we're looking at possibly giving you a hint at who she is and where she's been and how she's interacted over time next week online. So pay attention to that. But her question, basically, as we've said, she's been here since the beginning of time. Every time there's been a choice, a faithful choice, a critical choice that you've had to make or somebody else has made, she's been there. And we say that she's not what you consider her to be. That's why she's the two worlds. You think she's pretty, you think she's there to help you, you think she's actually good luck. The reality is, in our world, she's bad luck. You do not want her by your side.
Sometimes she's flesh and blood. Sometimes she's just simply a choice of posters to either enlist or not. And sometimes she's just a bad decision.
She chose poorly.
More on that next week as I get the last game.
All right, great. How about a round of applause, guys?